Hi, Steph. It's been too long. How are you?
I know. I'm okay. You have more important news. You tweeted in some personal news. The 9-year-old is now the 10-year-old. Yoda voice. Begun the Splatoon wars have. You're such a nerd.
This is a great weekend, hitting the double digits. Just to show you how keyed in my kid is. So we got him we gave him his allowance for the first time. We got him his first bank account. Right, we were kind of getting him to be financially literate, and he comes up later in the day. He's like, you know what? As much as I love the gift, what I really love is that you think I'm responsible enough to handle it. And I was like, whoa, you're going places, kid.
I love your kid stories. This one from Twitter. Bon Jovi comes on in the car. I turn up the sound. 9-year-old. I think that would hurt. Me. What? 9-year-old. To be thrown on a bed of roses. There are thorns. Me. It's a meta. Wife. Right. Your dad threw me in a rose bush. I'd beat him up. 9-year-old. How does sleeping on nails help? I feel people are focusing on the child's liberalism instead of my wife's betrayal. I think that's really like a vignette of your life that is just...
Like my wife will not allow me to make this kid a Bon Jovi fan. And so as soon as he gave just the slightest little bit of maybe this John Bon Jovi guy is not all he's crapped up to be, my wife was like on it.
So, Elie, talk to, obviously this is the J6 week. You tweeted all vectors of accountability are important, including this one. Going after his money in New York State is a big deal. It's just hard to keep the financial crimes are a thing face on when this dude is committing espionage and getting Trump judges to bail him out. What are you hoping for, looking forward to, this Wednesday? We're obviously hearing from Raskin and Schiff and Lofgren and others as to what's going to happen.
Yes. So Steph, I'm a regular person too, right? And when I'm in my regular person mode, when I'm just watching the television, when I'm spending time, listening to news in the car with my family, all I want is for him to go to jail.
Thank you.
I don't care how. I don't care who has to do it. I don't care what the circumstances are. I just need his orange lying behind bars. That's what I want.
Can I take a moment to say, we were talking about how you were supposed to do New York Sexy Liberal and then the entire life got canceled for COVID that year, but okay. But anyway, yeah, you write that, and I literally rockstar cheered reading it. You just said, I want this man behind bars for the crimes he's committed, the atrocities done in his name. I want him in prison. I want his 2024 campaign ads to be done during his hour of yard time each day. It's all well and good to get Al Capone for tax evasion, so long as tax evasion puts Capone in jail. With Trump, mere fines, even really big ones, do not feel like justice. I am with you. I am with you.
Did you see the movie, speaking of Capone, did you ever see the movie The Untouchables?
Yeah.
Right, with Robert De Niro. And so he has that bit where it's I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want that. That's kind of where I am personally, right?
Yes.
But then I have to try to put on the legal analyst hat and I'm allowed to have personal feelings, okay? I just am. But then I kind of put the personal feelings aside and put on the legal analyst hat, and then we understand that we need to do this in the appropriate way, and that's where I'm saying you got to come at this guy from all vectors. Yeah. And the things that people are doing, some people at least, are completely appropriate. The Tish James lawsuit, completely appropriate. The January 6th committee has been completely on point to this point, and I expect this week to be even more even more interesting, right? There are law enforcement officials who are doing what needs to be done. It's just, and I don't want to make it as it's not as simple as this, but it's just it's the women who are doing it. It's the guys who are letting us down, right? When it comes to actual prosecution and actual jail time, it's not up to Tish James. It's up to Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who seems to be afraid of Donald Trump. That's the best. Yeah. That's the nicest way I can put it, right?
We did seem to wake him from his nap. Tish James woke him from his nap, though, right? He was like, huh? What? Oh, no, I'm working.
I'm okay. I'm totally doing something. No, he's not. He's not. He should have been with Tish James when she is laying out civil charges. Yeah. He should have been laying out criminal charges at the same time. But he's trying to get away. He's trying to avoid taking on the big bear, right? Yeah. We don't need just Zoe Lofgren and Liz Cheney on the January 6th committee who are doing great. We need Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
We don't need, basically at this point, Cassidy Hutchinson to have the biggest cojones in Washington, D.C. We need Merrick Garland to back her up at some point. So at some point you got the people with the power to put this man in jail have to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
The people with the power to charge him civilly, to explain the nature of his many, 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 many crimes, they seem to be on the wall and doing the job.
Yeah. But speaking of which, Cassidy Hutchinson, so get your take on this latest. Text messages obtained by CNN show Mark Meadows in late 2020 was in direct contact with a pro-Trump operative who was plotting to seize voting machines from key swing states. Specifically, he was receiving texts from Phil Waldron, a conspiracy theorist who was a top advocate for having Trump seize voting machines. Okay, so skipping down, he and his allies filed to get Arizona to hand over its voting machines. Described Arizona as our lead domino to start the cascade of other states handing over voting machines. This plan was forwarded when a judge dismissed the lawsuit in a ruling that Meadows described as pathetic in a message to Waldron. So anyway, the basic report, Elie, is talking about how they started in the courts and state legislatures, and then this became a surreptitious, illegal effort to try to do this. How does Mark Meadows not end up under the jail for everything we've learned so far?
Yeah, the TLDR of that story, Steph, is that Mark Meadows is in some trouble.
Right.
Like, Mark Meadows is in some serious trouble. And from where I sit, the only way he doesn't end up under the jail, as you put it, is if he tells the truth and tells the people who ordered him to do these things. Because right. Mark Meadows is very close to that situation where, like, one of y'all is going down. Either Mark Meadows, you are the mastermind behind the coup and the plot to overthrow the election. Either because everything ended up on your desk and you signed off on all of it. Either it's all you, Mark Meadows, or everything ended up on your desk because you're a boss, and there's only one person who can be your boss, Mark Meadows, because your boss told you to do it.
Yeah.
So which one is it, Mark?
Yeah.
And I would hope that the reason why he hasn't been charged yet is because the DOJ still thinks that he is either cooperating enough or can be made to cooperate more. I would hope that there's some flippage going on there at the DOJ, and that's why he's not literally out on bail right now. So that is the hope. But like, again, Steph, at the end of the day, I mean, I come on your show so often and we talk about that. We always get to the same guy, right?
Yeah.
It always ends up on Merrick Garland's desk. And it's either, is he doing the things he needs to do to eventually bring him to justice on these January 6th conspiracy to obstruct Congress charges? Like, is that happening or not? And we still don't have enough information to make a call. Although I will say this, as opposed to, let's say, 6 months ago, I'm more feeling like we don't have enough information to make the call, as opposed to Merrick Garland needs some smelling salts in his oat bran, right? I do think that the summer run of the January 6th committee woke Merrick Garland up and got him to understand that the people were not just going to sit quietly and let him pull an Alvin Bragg and shove this under the rug. Yeah. So I do think that Cassidy Hutchinson really seems to have lit the fire throughout the entire DOJ.
Well, and now Tish James put another, right, because that's DOJ. The SDNY is, it's just the hot potato sheet. But I mean,
Damian Williams, Damian Williams is the U.S. attorney for the SDNY, first African American to ever hold that spot. But Damian Williams, law clerk to Merrick Garland. So we'll see.
Well, I just love in your piece you described it. What James uncovered was shocking and darkly hilarious. I mean, even for those of us that know what a giant crook Trump has been all his life, it really is. I mean, because it's just, how is any normal person can understand this is fraud, right? This is cheating.
Yeah, explaining
on a
it to my now
scale.
10-year-old. Yeah. I had him in stitches just talking about how stupid these crimes were. I mean, how are you going to have a 10,000-foot apartment and call it 30,000 square feet? Like, that's so obviously. And remember, Steph, their arguments, not just the Trumpian arguments, but like the Trump arguments, Alan Dershowitz, like those people, their literal arguments right now is it's okay to lie to banks. Because banks know you're lying when you talk to them. Right. Like, that's not true.
Yes, no. It's everything we teach our kids not to be. Everything Donald Trump has ever said, just about.
Like when I go to get my house refinanced, I can't say it's actually three times as big as it is. I can't do that.
Right.
I would go to jail. So the idea that like you can just lie to a bank to induce the bank to give you money is such a ridiculous argument. But that's where we are in this country.
Yeah. Well, normally you're here to light a fire under our ass and, make us just psychotically angry about because that's also, this is almost happy clappy for you. You said there are more of us than there are of them. And if the good people would just stand up together, we can defeat these cultists. So that's what I try to do. Inspire the good people, not convince the bad people. It hits different because my focus is different. Thank you. If you look at these Trump rallies, you go, yes, it's scary, but it's also pathetic. Look how few people are there. There are more of us. That's the important part.
I've been trying to get people to understand that in the context of the Ron DeSantis kidnapping scheme.
Yes.
There is such a push, I believe, in corporate media, and I mean your major publications and news outlets to do what the Republicans want and to turn this kidnapping story into some kind of larger expose on the immigration problems in the United States. And it's not that. Like, if there's a time and a place where you want to talk about immigration reform, we can talk about it, and we can talk about why red states will not let us have a national immigration reform response. We can talk about that if you want to. But this story is not about the immigration crisis or immigration reform. This story is about the governor of Florida kidnapping 48 people and sending them to Martha's Vineyard for a political stunt. That's what this story is. And the inability of corporate media to focus in on that is infuriating to me.
Yeah.
And the idea that we are roughly split half and half between people who think kidnapping is okay and people who don't is, again, ludicrous to me. We're not half and half.
Yeah.
There are 35% of the country that are cultists and are willing to use and weaponize brown children for political stunts. Those people are diabolical and bad and in the minority.
Yeah.
And we can stop these people if we would just focus for 5 minutes on the actual crimes that are being committed.
I think it's another political gift before the midterms, Elie. That tells you exactly how Republicans govern. It's the cruelty. They don't govern. They do stunts for Fox News. And how the people in Martha's Vineyard receive them shows you how we govern. And how we care for people.
In California. California has more immigrants per capita than any other state in the union. Are y'all weaponizing people, kidnapping them, and sending them to Chicago?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Is Ron DeSantis kidnapping Ukrainian refugees just at the moment and sending them to Martha's Vineyard? No, he's not. So, we know what he's doing and why. And again, if people could just focus for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We would realize that there are more of us than there are of them, and that we have to lock hands and band together to stop them.
And call out the media, as you do so brilliantly. You retweeted the New York Times saying the American public's views of Donald Trump have remained remarkably stable in recent months. And you said poll shows cultist view of cult leader remain unmoved by evidence of cult leaders' cult activities. Thank you. That should be the headline, right?
I do not care what Trump people at a diner think about Donald Trump.
Right.
They've already proven to me who they are. They've already showed me what they're about. It's no longer a question of can we convince the 35, 36, 37% of people who are all in with this cultist MAGA king. It's not about convincing them. It's about convincing the rest of us that doing at this point the bare minimum to show up and vote against him and his party is worth it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not really concerned about the 39% of people who are going to vote for Donald Trump and the Republicans. I'm concerned about at this point, 40% of Americans who are eligible to vote but won't bother.
Yeah.
But won't bother in November. Those are the people who need to understand what's going on and that they can do something about it. And all it takes, hopefully, depending on the state that they live in and the color of their skin, all it takes is between 5 minutes and 18 hours on election day to do something to stop these people.
Yes. One more, you calling out the media. Politico headline, House GOP cuts loose candidate who misled about military service. You said the Politico headline can't use the word lie, even though they're reporting on a lie, and the word lie is literally in the deck, and the author writing it says lie is in the second paragraph. Is here the idea that German Rupert Murdoch only reads the headlines? I mean, guy lied about his military service. Right.
It's not hard to say.
Yeah.
when you lie, you can just report that they lied. Like again, the idea here, and we see this, I think, right now, most obviously with CNN and the new direction that they're going in, the kind of CNN, we're Fox, but not as hardcore. Like that's their new James Earl Jones voice, right? Like, I guess they want CNN, we're almost the truth. Like I don't know where.
It's fantastic.
But you can see where they're going, right? And the reason why they're going in that direction is that they've decided that what's missing in this country is not truth and accuracy. It's that 50-year-olds who don't understand how to cut the cord and still watch cable news just need a little bit more Fox in their life.
Yeah. By the way, what Travis and I were saying, we just finished Malcolm Nance's book, and that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. All of this anti-government stuff, they're fine with government that supports their white supremacy. They're fine when when the right wing is in charge of the government. They're against government when Democrats are in charge. So that's why these midterms are so critical, and also the fact that you showed up today when you say, this is the first day it feels like fall. It makes me sad because I know a lot of people like fall. I hate it because everything's dying. Also, I have to be on the lookout for white people squirting pumpkin juice into my favorite things. And so we apologize to you for that. Thank you for showing up, despite all the pumpkin.
I accept your apology on behalf of all.
I have a no pumpkin spice rule in my house, so I'm with you.
It's Rosh Hashanah. I'd be remiss if I was anywhere near a microphone today without saying Lashana Tova to all who observe. And the reason why I thought of it was because you brought up Malcolm Nance's book. And one of the things that I read it too, I did an interview with him, and one of the things that I felt, it reminded me of, like, the people who left Germany. Like, I don't want to be on the last train to leave America, right? Like, cause like that's cutting it too close. It's like you ever go out late and then you're trying to get home. You never want to be on the last train because you might miss the last train. You want to go for the second to last train because then you have a buffer. And that's, after reading Malcolm's book, like, that's what I was thinking. Like, when does the second to last train to Montreal leave? Because that's what I want to be on. Because when you read Malcolm's book and it's like, these people are coming.
Yeah.
And they have a plan.
Yep. And as you say on Twitter, I got to get some sleep since I have to wake up in the morning and fight with everybody. That's your job. That's what's saving us from those trains. Love you, Elie Mystal. See you next time. Go get his book.
Thanks, Elie.
What's the book?
Allow me to retort.
Allow me to retort.
All right.